I said we don't do business with poor companies.
The business partner was yelling at me. I was wiping the coffee that had been thrown over my head with my hand, reaching the limit of my patience. Indeed, the company I work for doesn't have much capital to spare. After all, it's a newly established company, and while business is improving, it's not fully stable yet. So, it's true we don't have much money. But that doesn't justify being doused in coffee and mocked as poor. This person seems to enjoy seeing me, who is in a lower position, struggle. It's completely distasteful, but there are people like this in the world. However, it seems my business partner doesn't realize he's picked the wrong person to mess with. I took my smartphone out of my pocket and, "Hello, bro. It's me." Immediately after this, the business partner turned pale and started begging for my forgiveness. My family consisted of 4 people, my parents and my brother. My brother and I were 6 years apart, but he always took good care of me. This was because our parents were too busy with work to take care of us. On top of that, my parents didn't get along since before I could remember.
We never got along from the start.
My mom said that as if she was disgusted. I couldn't say, "Then why did you get married?" Still, it seems things were better before I was born. But right after I was born, my dad got busy with work and neglected the family. My mom had to raise my brother and me by herself, leading to constant stress and clashes. My dad wasn't neglectful of my brother and me, nor did he have problems with gambling or drinking. He simply didn't prioritize the family, which my mom couldn't accept. My mom understood that my dad's job was busy, but she was overwhelmed with the responsibility of raising kids and doing housework alone.
We are getting a divorce.
So, when I was in first grade, my parents' divorce was finalized. I was taken in by my mom, and my brother was taken in by my dad.
No, I don't want to be separated from you, big bro. Dylan.
I clung to my brother and cried until the moment I left the houses with my mom. Despite the painful expression on her face, my mom took me away. Both my brother and dad also had pained expressions.
If everyone is so sad, why do we have to live apart?
I spent my days feeling lonely and depressed.
I want to be with Dad and Big Bro.
I'm sorry. That's not possible.
No, I want to be together.
I cried every day, making things difficult for my mom.
There's nothing else we can do.
Eventually, my mom gave in and called my dad. It turned out my brother was also depressed because he wanted to see me.
Oh, Big Bro. Dylan, how have you been? I've been good, but I was lonely. I see. Sorry for making you feel lonely.
In our tearful reunion, my brother and I cried our hearts out. We hugged each other tightly, crying loudly in joy. Seeing this, our parents,
We've been thinking only about ourselves.
Yeah, we really did a terrible thing to the kids.
even though our parents didn't get along, they still cared about us. They decided not to remarry, but agreed to allow us to see each other freely. From then on, although we lived apart, we saw each other almost every day. Under my brother's watchful eye, I grew up healthy and strong. If my interaction with my brother had been restricted, I wonder what would have happened to me. I might have ended up going astray. My brother grew up with our dad, but one day, an incident occurred. A year after our parents' divorce, my mom remarried first. Her new husband was a great guy, so things went well. Soon after, my dad also remarried. I hope my brother's new mom is as good a person as my new dad, I thought.
Hey, what's wrong?
Huh? Nothing.
It can't be nothing.
Since Dad's remarriage, my brother had been visibly distressed. When I pressed him about it, he told me it was because of his stepmom.
I don't get along with her. I want to leave home soon.
Apparently, she was treating him poorly when Dad wasn't around. Hearing this, I was furious.
I won't forgive anyone who hurts my brother.
Enraged, I stormed into their house and confronted Dad.
I can't believe you'd remarry someone who doesn't treat him well, Dad.
Dad listened to me and realized for the first time that my brother was being mistreated. Thankfully, Dad believed me and confronted his new wife. She admitted to mistreating my brother, and Dad immediately divorced her to protect him.
Thanks, Dylan. I'll never forget this.
It's okay. As long as you're happy, that's all that matters.
With a smile that held back tears, my brother ruffled my hair and said, "You've grown to be even better than me." And my brother's chance to repay me came when we were adults. After graduating from my college, the company I had just joined went bankrupt after only 3 years. What should I do now? With no significant work history and in the middle of a recession, job openings were scarce. Am I going to have to make ends meet with part-time jobs? I wondered when my brother came over and made a proposal.
Dylan, it's been tough, huh? You haven't found a new job yet, right? If so, why don't you work for my friend's company?
Really? Is that okay?
Of course. They need help right away because they're short-staffed. But it's a brand new company, so it'll be pretty hectic.
I don't mind at all. So I immediately started working at my brother's friend's company. Just as my brother said, it was so busy that we could have used an extra hand. I came home exhausted every day. But this level of busyness suited me just fine. The company's president said, "I'm glad you joined us, Dylan," and the work was very rewarding. Although the company wasn't fully stable yet, business was gradually improving. If things kept going well, the company would continue to grow. Despite the busy days, my work was fulfilling, and I was living a very rewarding life. Then one day, "All right, let's do this." I slapped my cheeks hard in front of the company building to psych myself up. This company is a major player in the industry, and securing a contract with them would significantly boost our company's performance. I had been chosen for this crucial negotiation. The presentation materials are perfect. Now it's all up to me. Though I was nervous about being entrusted with such an important task, my boss had given the thumbs up to the presentation materials I had painstakingly prepared. The success rate was considered quite high, but
No, this presentation won't do at all.
what? The manager of our client, Joy, said this after barely glancing through the presentation materials. Well, could you please tell me specifically what you don't like about it?
Do I really have to point it out to you? Geez, this is why I hate dealing with poor companies.
Upset by what I said, Joe the manager, slammed his fist on the desk with a loud bang and yelled at me.
If you can't understand something this simple, we won't do business with your company. If you want to secure a deal with us, redo the presentation materials and come back.
With that, he tore the presentation materials to shreds right in front of me. I was stunned by his unbelievable behavior. Joe watched me with a vulgar grin, clearly enjoying my discomfort. Well, I'll be back. I picked up the torn pieces of the presentation materials and left the office. If it comes to this, I'll make a presentation so perfect that they can't say a word against it. Back at my company, I redoubled my efforts and created new presentation materials. I showed them to my colleagues and superiors, who assured me that they were flawless. A week later, I returned to the client's office. Here are the newly revised presentation materials. I handed the presentation materials to Joe. I was confident that these materials were impeccable. Joe looked through the presentation materials for a while, but
Nope, still not good. We won't be doing business with your company.
he snorted and tossed the meticulously prepared presentation materials aside. This time, I couldn't help but get irritated. Could you please tell me what exactly you don't like about them? I will make any necessary adjustments.
Didn't I tell you before? Do I really have to spell it out for you?
I'm sorry. I'm still learning. I'd really appreciate it if you could share your feedback. Joe laughed mockingly as I leaned forward, keen to hear his thoughts. For a moment, he seemed flustered. He's rejecting the presentation materials without any real reason. Though he tried to maintain his condescending demeanor, Joe began to speak.
Well, your company is a poor one with limited funds. It's not fit to do business with a major company like ours. Know your place.
That's not a valid reason.
What did you say?
I said that our company's financial status isn't a valid reason to outright reject the presentation materials. This guy was just enjoying seeing me struggle. When I sharply pointed this out, Joe's face turned red with anger and embarrassment.
How dare you speak to me like that? Know your place.
Shouting, he threw the coffee he had on his desk at me. Luckily, it had cooled down, but my suit was drenched.
I said we don't do business with poor companies. Got it. How dare you act so cocky? You're beneath me. You should just shut up and listen to me.
With coffee dripping from my head, I wiped my face with my hand, reaching the limit of my patience. Joe looked at my drenched state with a smug smile, clearly enjoying my predicament. Joe was looking at me, drenched in coffee, with a smug grin on his face. He enjoyed seeing someone in a lower position struggle. I found it incredibly distasteful, but people like him exist in the world. However, Joe didn't realize he had picked the wrong person to mess with. I pulled out my smartphone from my pocket and called someone.
Hey you. What the hell are you doing in the middle of a business meeting?
Hello, bro. It's me. Your company's employee training is seriously messed up. I'm at your company right now, and some guy named Joe, the manager, just spilled coffee all over me. Does your company teach that throwing coffee on business partners is a form of greeting?
What? His brother?
Not even a minute after I made the call, I heard hurried footsteps coming from outside the conference room. And then, bursting in through the door.
I'm sorry, Dylan. What the hell have you done?
The CO.
It was my brother, the CEO of this company. Actually, our dad is the head of a certain company. It's been in the family for generations, and right after I was born, he was extremely busy training to take over as the CEO. Eventually, this led to his separation from my mom. My brother was taken in by our dad as the next CEO, and now he's making his mark as the new boss. He's pretty popular as a young, talented CEO, and he's even been featured in the media. By the way, the fact that my company got a chance to do business with my brother's company is entirely because of my company's own merits. Our CEO knows my brother, but my brother doesn't give anyone special treatment just because they're an acquaintance. We negotiated head-on and earned this opportunity for a business deal. The manager, Joe, who my brother had already spoken to about the situation, looked pale as a sheet and seemed ready to collapse.
I am deeply sorry. I didn't realize you were the CEO's brother.
Joy apologized to my brother in a panic, but my brother just stared down at him coldly.
Why are you apologizing to me? If you're going to apologize, do it to Dylan, whom you disrespected.
Well,
So, you're saying you don't genuinely feel sorry for what you did. You're just pretending to be remorseful, huh?
Called out so bluntly, Joe's face turned from pale to almost white. He's been trembling uncontrollably since earlier.
I'm really sorry.
Enough. You don't need to apologize anymore. Clearly, throwing coffee at a business partner is something you enjoy. There's no need for me to accept an apology from someone with such questionable character.
No, it's not like that. I just accidentally spilled my coffee.
Sounds like a pretty spectacular accident. If you seriously think that excuse is going to work, you must be pretty clueless.
My brother roughly brushed off Joe, who was trying to cling to him, and apologize.
I will take strict action regarding this incident. Be prepared.
With that final blow, Joe collapsed to the floor. Afterward, Joe was demoted. Apparently, there were already issues with him, and he was demoted from manager to a regular employee, which was quite a severe punishment. His salary was drastically reduced. This incident became a rumor that spread throughout the company, and other employees began to look at Joe with disdain. Joe no longer had a place in my brother's company. My brother mentioned, rather indifferently, that it was only a matter of time before Joe submitted his resignation. On the other hand, I resumed the business meeting with a new manager. The new manager was a competent person who carefully reviewed my presentation materials and moved forward with the negotiations.
Your company is still in its early stages, but from what I've heard about your performance and reputation in the industry, it's clear that you'll continue to grow. Plus, this presentation, it was so impressive that I definitely want to do business with your company. I look forward to working with you in the future.
Yes, thank you very much. And just like that, I successfully secured the contract. I was so happy to be praised for the presentation I had poured my heart into that I almost cried. When I reported this to my brother, he was as happy as if it were his own achievement.
Keep up your good work. I'm supporting you.
Yeah, thanks, bro.
Hey, why don't you call me Big Bro like you used to?
Come on, I'm almost 30. Calling you Big Bro is a bit embarrassing. My big brother looked a little disappointed, and seeing that, I couldn't help but burst out laughing.